If I were buying my very first home again in 2026, knowing what I know now, I would do so many things differently. And not because I made huge mistakes when we bought our first home, but because no one really explains to you how emotional, strategic, and long-term this decision really is, especially when you're in it for the first time. Most first-time buyers are told, get pre-approved, don't fall in love, and buy as much as you can afford. But what they don't tell you can wind up costing you a lot of money and peace of mind. So today, I want to walk through with you what I would personally do differently if I were buying my first home in 2026, in today's market, with today's interest rates, and today's rules about home buying. So if you're even thinking about buying a home in the next year or two, this video could save you a lot of time, stress, and potentially tens of thousands of dollars. Before we get started, if we haven't met yet, I'm Jen with the Jen Collins Group, and we help people buy and sell homes and figure out exactly where they want to live here in the Tri-Valley and throughout the East Bay. Most people we work with are either relocating, growing into a larger home, or downsizing. But most importantly, they're just trying to make a smart move without regretting it later. All right, let's get into it. The first thing that I would do is I would start preparing to buy a home way earlier than I ever did before. If I could rewind the clock, I would actually start preparing to buy a home way before I ever felt ready to buy a home. Most first-time home buyers wait until they see a house that they like, or until rates drop, or they get a new job or a raise, or they get married, and then they start asking questions. But here's the real truth. The best buyers aren't the fastest. They're actually the most prepared. If I were buying my first home again in 2026, I would actually start preparing about 12 to 18 months beforehand, not 2 to 3. That preparation would include things like talking to various lenders, understanding what my real monthly payment comfort zone is, cleaning up my credit way before it mattered, and learning what down payment options there actually are. Preparations will give you confidence, and confidence is what helps buyers win, instead of panicking or overpaying. The next thing I would do is I would choose my lender more carefully. Now, we were lucky when we bought our first home because my sister was in lending underwriting. So she connected us with a great lender. But if I were buying in 2026, I would interview at least 2 or 3 different lenders. I would ask them how often they close transactions in really competitive markets. And I would be sure to ask them how they handle things like appraisal issues, tight timelines, and underwriting challenges. The lender isn't just giving you a loan, they're helping you with your negotiating power. In competitive markets, a great lender can calm a listing agent down and make your offer more attractive. In fact, I've worked with lenders before that when I told the listing agent who the lender was, they immediately felt a sense of calm and were confident about our ability to close the transaction. As I talked to lenders, I'd also make sure that I really understood things like rate buydowns, adjustable versus fixed mortgage options, and first-time buyer programs, plus reading the fine print. Because let's be real, the cheapest option on paper may not necessarily be your best long-term option. Next, I would focus much more on the monthly payment, not just the purchase price. This is something that I see buyers struggle with all the time. They fixate on the purchase price. And if I were buying again in 2026, I would focus much more on what the monthly cost would be and how that feels in my life. This means factoring in things like property taxes, homeowners insurance, which is extremely challenging right now in California, HOA dues if applicable, utilities, and of course, maintenance and repairs. I'd also be sure to ask myself questions like, will this payment still work if my life changes? Can I still travel, go out to dinner, and enjoy life? Or does somehow home ownership become like a financial chokehold? When we bought our first home, we didn't really understand how important a lender is in the process. We just thought a rate is a rate, right? Wrong. Buying your first home, even in California, even in the Bay Area, should feel empowering, not suffocating. This next one is probably the biggest mind shift of all. I would buy the most boring house in the best location. First-time homebuyers often want the prettiest house, the one that's the most updated and looks best on Instagram. But if I were buying again in 2026, I would prioritize location, layout, and long-term flexibility way over pretty finishes. Paint fades, trends change, but location and layouts can matter forever. I'd much rather buy the slightly outdated house in a great neighborhood with good schools, strong resale demand, and the ability to improve the home over time. You can always change a kitchen, but you can't change where your house is. The next thing I would think about, even if I was never planning to move, is I would think about the resale value of the home from day one. When we bought our first home, we weren't thinking about resale value. We were just excited to move in. But if I were buying again in 2026, I'd be asking questions like, who is the future buyer for this home? Is this a layout that people would like? And is this price point always in demand? Plus, how easy would this be to rent if needed? Please consider your first home a stepping stone, not your final destination. And the better that it performs, whether you rent it or sell it in the future, the more options you'll have in the long term. Please, if you're finding this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us spread the word with other buyers who need to hear this information. And of course, if you're thinking about buying in the Tri-Valley or anywhere in the East Bay, I'd love the opportunity to sit down with you through our buyer strategy session. The next thing that I would do if I was buying in 2026 is I would be sure to budget for maintenance from day one. No one really talks about this, but your mortgage cost is not your only expense. If I were buying again in 2026, I would immediately set aside a monthly maintenance fund, even if nothing is really wrong with the house right now, because you never know what tomorrow might bring. Things break, roofs age, water heaters fail in the middle of the night, and some surprises are really expensive if you're not prepared. All right, here's another big one. I would not rush just because I felt pressure. Whether that's pressure from parents, pressure from friends, or pressure from someone else, I would take my time. This can be a really big emotional one because a lot of people can put pressure on you when you tell them that you're about to start looking for your first home. Other friends buying homes for the first time, parents asking lots of questions, then you have this fear of missing out on something that other people are getting right now. And then of course, there's the never-ending headlines about the real estate market and what may or may not be truly happening. If I were buying again, I would remind myself that the right home at the wrong time is still the wrong decision. And I'd only move forward when I felt that the numbers worked for me, the lifestyle made sense, and I felt informed, not rushed. You should always understand why you're doing something. When we bought our first home, we decided to work with a friend who we thought would be representing us very well. Unfortunately, she really wasn't that experienced. So make sure, if you do choose a friend to help you, ask some hard questions. How are they going to help you? What is their experience? How many homes have they sold? How many homes have they sold in the budget that you're looking in the area that you're looking in? Be sure that you feel really confident with the decision to move forward with a friend. Okay, so this is a big one. The next thing that I would do is I would choose my agent much more intentionally. When you're buying your first home, the agent you choose matters so much more than what you might think. If I were buying a home in 2026, I'd make sure to choose an agent who explains things really clearly, who educates but doesn't pressure, who knows the local market really deeply, who has strong negotiation skills, and who thinks long-term and strategically. You should never feel embarrassed for asking questions, and you should never feel rushed. And you should always understand why it is you're doing the thing that you're doing. So if I were buying my first home again today in 2026, knowing what I know now, in today's market, with today's interest rates, and with today's rules about buying a home, I wouldn't try to be perfect. I would prepare earlier, choose my team very carefully, think long-term and strategically, focus on lifestyle and flexibility, and make all of my decisions based on clarity, not on fear. Just remember, your first home doesn't need to be your dream home. It just needs to be a smart first step. If you're even starting to think about buying a home in the next couple of years, I'd love to sit down with you and walk through our buyer strategy session. And of course, if you have questions, drop them in the comments below, or feel free to call or text me at the number below. I'm Jen with the Jen Collins Group, and we help buyers like you make smart moves here in the Tri-Valley and throughout the East Bay. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.